Hi folks, Matt Easton here of Schola Gladiatoria again. So here I'm looking at another Bowie knife from Poshland Knives, and I was so impressed with my first purchase from them, and I had a bit of spare money at the time, and I went straight on the internet one night and ordered another one. I was particularly looking for something which was a bit more traditional, a bit closer to the 19th century Bowie knives. And that's what made me go for this style, which is closer to a coffin hilt. In actual fact, you'll see that it's kind of pointed rather than being a coffin hilt. A coffin hilt would usually look more like that, without that pointed bit extending out there. However, I liked it. I thought it was different, and I really liked the pattern of the pattern of the wood, and the fact that it was wood rather than a modern material. And I also really liked the shape of the blade. Okay. The scabbard is the same as the other one I've reviewed. It is leather sandwich construction, stitched. It's good supple leather, belt loop at the back, double riveted there, and with a press stud sort of retainer to the side there. So yeah, the thing which really appealed to me, apart from the hilt, was the blade. And the blade is a more traditional shape for a 19th century Bowie. That is, it has a straight edge along here, rather than the curved, more kind of like almost kukri or yataghan like edge of the other one. And so it has a more historical shape, despite the fact that it's pattern welded. And of course 19th century Bowie knives were very, very rarely or almost never pattern welded. They were usually just mono steel. However, pattern welding is quite pretty, a very, very different pattern to the other one. Towards the end of this video I'll pull the other one out, so I'll put them next to each other for a comparison. This is a larger blade than the other one. This is a 10.5-inch blade, and it is a much chunkier and heavier knife. And it's interesting to me how different this feels in the hand to the other Poshland Bowie, which I reviewed in the previous video. This is a much more kind of solid or heavier kind of knife. Despite the fact that it's only an inch and a bit longer in the blade, it's quite a bit heavier than the other knife. Not in a bad way, it's not over heavy at all. It is still lighter than the awful Rough Rider Patrick Henry Bowie that I reviewed a few weeks ago. It is still a nice functional weight, it's just that it is heavier than the other Bowie that I had from Poshland Knives. And to be honest, I find that interesting that there is quite a bit of variety in their work. So looking at the blade, I mentioned it's a more traditional shape. It's got a very different pattern of pattern welding to the other knife. And you'll notice probably from the reflections on the edge there, if I just do that, that this also has a hollow ground edge on it. The slope, the final bevel down to the edge is actually hollow ground. And I think that that's a really nice feature and kind of shows a bit more work going into a blade than simply being a straight bevel. I do like the hollow grind, and it was very popular on actual 19th century knives, so again it keeps that contact with historical design. The crossguard is more symmetrical. It's not entirely symmetrical in fact, but it does extend more at the back than the other knife I've just reviewed. And the grip, as I mentioned, is something close to a coffin hilt, but with a pointy end on it. In actual fact, it sits very comfortably in the hand, and is very comfortable to hold like that, much as a coffin hilt is. Certainly to me. I know not everyone loves coffin hilts, but I do, and I find them comfortable. The wood is very nicely formed. It's a nice, it's allegedly walnut. I can't say for certain. I'm not a wood expert, I'm afraid. It could be walnut. It's not burr walnut, but it could be standard walnut. I don't really know. I'll let more educated wood minds say what kind of wood that looks like. It looks a bit like rosewood to me, but and it's got the same construction more or less as the other Bowie knife I just reviewed. So it's a slab full tang construction. This time also with the 7 rivets in fact this time. So one more rivet at the end there. But the construction and the fit and the finish, once again, are excellent. Okay, everything that should be flush and smooth is. It's all polished smooth here. There's your hand's not catching on anything. There's no rough edges at all. Not even at the underneath of the guard there. Everything's smooth and polished. Where the tang goes into the guard and into the grip, you can't even see. You can't see any kind of gaps or lines or anything. And the blade on this is, again, this is potentially a little bit thicker steel than the other one. I think this is probably closer to 6mm thick, but let's say 5 or 6mm because I'm not 100% certain. And again, this is a more historical look to it than the previous version, which is the other one being more of a modern design. The only thing I would say that from a personal point of view is a bit of a shame is this hook, which is somewhat like a Spanish notch or choil, is sort of pointing in the wrong direction compared to historical examples. So as the notch is, the kind of groove as it were, or the notch is going upwards there, usually they go into the blade at 90 degrees to the direction it's pointing. So once I've had this knife for a bit, I will probably, to be honest, actually grind off that little extension there and just turn it into a normal just a normal sort of bevel, as it were, or angle in there without this extension there, because I think that extension looks a bit, if you can see there against the light, it just looks a little bit strange. But yeah, a lovely knife. I'm really happy with this. Again, the only thing I can't vouch for is the quality of the steel. This came relatively sharp, but I had to sharpen it better myself. But it's now very, very sharp, and so far it retains a good edge. I've cut things and chopped things and done all sorts of things with it. I haven't done anything mega heavy. I haven't chopped down a tree with it or anything like that yet. But I can't vouch 100% for the quality of the steel, but it seems to be okay. And again, like the other one, if I ding it on the solid table, you can see it bounces. It's got some spring temper to it, and everything, the fit is absolutely rock solid. And I will just reiterate that the finish on these, in terms of the smoothness of all the edges and the way everything's polished and finished and fits together with no gaps, is absolutely superb for the price. This was a little bit more expensive than the other one. This one was, I believe, about 65 or 70 pounds. And the one with the Makata grips was about 55 or 60 pounds, I think. So there we go, a nice Bowie knife for the price. Only things I would change is to make it more historical and use monosteel, but there we go, that's a personal thing. But Poshland Knives, I'll put the link below this video, and thanks for watching, guys. Bye.